treasurer's report.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good to see everybody. We have the reports here for month 11. This June, the month we're in now, will be the last month. So this is like near completion, and we're staying right where we have been. I had the balance sheet on the top. I don't know if I should go over that first since it's on top, but you could see as of May 31st, we had almost 95,000 in the checking and 256 and change in the Orange County savings. That's 9,000 lower now for the June payment. So we have 247 plus 94. So roughly we're going to end with around 260 or so, which is what we have been saying, because there's 2 pay periods left in June, and then June expenses. So that'll probably add up to roughly 100,000. So we should end at roughly 260 for our fund balance at the end of the year, which is close to where we started. And on the expense side, the salaries are now literally on budget, 601,875 to 601,700. So $174 over, but that's like probably a fraction of a percent. It's out of 600,000 of $174. So, and we have 2 pay periods left, so we'll probably be within $1,000 one way or the other. Out of the total, I think the full budget is 651 or something like that for salaries. But at the end of the, oh yeah, it's right there, 651,842. It's good to have that full year budget on the right hand column, but I wasn't looking over it. So yeah, roughly we'll be right on that. On the books of dope, I moved that 1,000 up to dope. I think last month we had talked about it, but I forgot to do it until after the meeting and I ran the reports. But the 1,000 from replacements is now in adult book, so it's 32. Okay. It had been 31. And books were entered through the end of April, so there's only May books outstanding. So that's the one area where we're probably going to be a little bit over at the end of the year. But the whole category line, total library materials, is still slightly under. But with books being entered, the whole category will probably be on or close to budget, but some of the book lines will be over, right?
Okay.
But which is no surprise. We've been discussing that for a while now. But the adult program line should be under. So one adult line will be over, one will be under. So if need be, we can do journal entries at the end of the year. Under commuter transit tax, you'll see a credit in May of $2,078. Mm-hmm. We received the check that we've been waiting for from the state, but it came through our CLS. They got the whole load of money, and then they divvied it up. And so we got a check for $2,078. You know, the money back for the MTA tax. That's probably for like the last couple of years, because we didn't have that much in there. You can see there's no activity for the last few months in there. So that kind of brought our overall spending down by 2,000, because you know it's going the other way. So the whole package, the bottom line on the expenses is 1,119,000, almost 1,120,000, versus 1,139,000. So we're like 19,000 under budget. So allowing for books and other things, probably at the end of the year, will probably be around 5,000 to 10,000 under budget, or somewhere around there. Within 1% of the total, one way or another. So we're almost like a bullseye, not only on salaries, but on total spending as well. And the last thing I'll mention is the June payment, which came out at 256, so now that's 247. After the June loan payment, the loan balance is down to 156,598.78, and I think we have 18 or 19 months to go. Yep. So a year and a half roughly to go. Nice. So, and you can see the interest now each month is, what's on your guys' report, but it's on mine, it's down to like 700. So almost the whole payment now is going to principal. So we're getting at the end of that. So other than that, that's pretty much where we're at.
Anything for Jack? Any questions for Jack?
Oh yeah, the credit card report was in there as requested too.
We paid this off every month, right?
Yeah. Yep. And that was the one that was on last month's check one. Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of that.
The payments before.
Yeah, and mostly it's books and videos and stuff.
Right.
That's
computer stuff.
Computer. That's
subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
That's, those are rotary stickers for the lines.
Right. So on the trading, I'm guessing for art supplies for now.
Right.
Oriental
Thanks.
trading.
I just have a question to go back to the profit and loss.
Mhm.
The $1,000 that you mentioned, was not the $1,000 that we were talking about at budget time that we wanted to restore to the children's?
No, that was the one that
That's
was.
separate?
Yeah, it's separate.
Okay.
The one we restored to children was for next year's, I think. This was just
Okay.
1,000 in replacements that we never really code to.
Okay.
If it's a book that's a replacement, we really just code it to whether it was adult or teen or children,
Got it.
so. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
still, that's still there. It's still in
Okay,
there. Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Jack? May I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Norma, a second? Everybody wants to. Jim?
Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa.
Yeah, thanks. All right, everybody, thank you. Yeah.
Now, police and fence repair. I feel like I missed an email with everything that went back and forth. And I feel like is it just me?
No.
Because I feel like I came into the middle of a conversation, so I have no idea what's going on. So why don't you start at the beginning and catch us up? And first explain why we even have to have a fence around the property when there's no gate.
That's the middle. Okay.
That's the
The only
middle?
answer I have there, which is probably a good answer. Kate Schmidt was the impetus for all this. She's on the JRC.
Yes.
And they're having a Girl Scout jamboree at the end of June. So her first concern was people are going to be parking there. We have a problem with the single lane entry, and there's going to be tons of people there, between several hundred. We'll put it that way.
Oh, good.
So
Girl Scouts.
later to find out that they're actually going to be parking next door at the little building next door that we don't know.
Oh, I know.
The Mason Hall. Mason Hall, like it was on it. Yeah, Masonic Hall. So.
So it doesn't matter.
So yeah, so actually I think, and how it was explained to me is that they're going to just actually be coning off the entrance anyways to make sure people park next door. So, so that part was put to rest. But still, the issue with the gate. If you saw the photos, part of the gate is actually mangled around the big tree at the very front of the entrance there, and there's about 9 or 10 lengths of it that are basically propped up, and they could fall down if they're hung on the wrong way. I talked to Ted Lewis, again jumping around into the middle. I talked to Ted Lewis, and he said that one of the problems with the fence and the reason why they put why they capped the ladder far closer to town is for deer. Actually, deer will impale themselves on the fence from trying to jump over it. So.
Well, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. There was a deer
It happens.
flailing, and a school bus of young kids drove by, and you know.
It's gory.
Well, but what he said was there's been several deer that have been removed from the fence at different times, so that's why they worked to cap it.
But they're still gonna get impaled, just like.
They'll just-
Well,
Yeah, I was
Well,
just
get their
gonna
heads
say,
stuck.
I know.
it's
Yeah,
not
But
gonna
it's
be
more
that
than
big of a-
that. It's more than just the deer. It's just.
That might be an
you know,
answer to why the fence is in such
Okay.
shape as it is, that they're
The deer keep
running
running
into
into
it.
it,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, because
And
otherwise
that's why
you
they
get
know.
cars or something,
It's,
we don't see fire trucks.
I've been
so.
at many of the meetings in the past when it was discussed at the town board meetings, and
Right.
it was more to do, yes, with the deer incident, but also with the insurance. The insurance carrier had come back and said, well, this is really something you should take care of. It wasn't like, you know,
You
we're
have
not
to
going to
do
give you
that.
insurance if you don't do it, but you should. It's just a safety hazard for kids mainly. And Doug Bloomfeld
I
talked
remember.
about an
It was a
incident.
while ago, yeah.
I won't get into it,
Yeah.
but if you've watched Game of Thrones. So it's really just, you know, for kids
To
keep them out
keep
of
the
harm's
fence up,
way.
to keep them from running onto 207. That's
Of course, they
about
could have
that.
just
Yeah.
cut them off and saved, what, $21,000
Mhm.
because
They-
the videos and the insulation was said. But
But
anyway,
So-
There's new fencing in parts of the Salesian property.
It's
Right,
it's
but
been
who
did
touched
that?
up apparently. It's not a new fence. It's that it was sandblasted, painted, and capped.
It was the
points were
fence
capped.
that was
Oh,
repaired.
Yeah. It's
They-
the same,
they-
we looked at it, it's
Yeah.
the same fence.
Is it?
It's
Yeah.
actually the same
Even
lengths.
along Craigville? Cause I
So
saw them
that's-
putting in
yeah,
a
When you
fence.
get, when you
Well,
walk
there's different
Craigville
types
up
of
to the,
fence.
up
Well,
the hill on
along
the
to a
left-hand
set of
side,
fence.
Yeah.
that's not part of the park.
Okay.
There's a separate property there. It may be
Before the
part of
cemetery, before
Yeah.
the cemetery.
Before the cemetery
Yeah.
belongs to somebody.
Doesn't it belong to the village and the town?
No, not all
No, it's
of it.
fenced off actually.
It's fenced
Okay.
off,
So
So that
whoever
might be different.
knew, so did the village and the town get together and authorize the fixing of the old fence? Why didn't they let
Yeah.
us know that they were doing that?
It
And we
was a
could
long
have.
time
Oh, a
ago.
long time ago.
It was years ago.
I don't know if there's
Yeah,
any
years.
discussions regardless between the library and
Mm.
town
Yeah,
and
well,
village.
at the time,
There were certainly
was
issues back
nothing.
then.
Well,
Yeah.
they
Well,
could
another,
have.
another fact, I
let us know.
called Ray Quattrini
Mhm.
and, about the fence. He said that's a historic district,
Mm.
and you cannot just take down a fence like that in a historic district without approval. And he said you're gonna have to, at some point, if you're gonna take it down, you're gonna have to go to the planning board for approval.
But, you know, there's an issue with the fence. It has or is
Yeah.
falling down.
In
Well,
several spots.
And it's rusted, it's jagged.
Mhm.
It's,
It's
if a
unusual.
kid climbed, a young kid climbed on some sections, they could break through the metal and do
Right.
some real damage.
Well, I mentioned that same problem, and he said he thought if we told the planning board we were going to take down that, it's really like 5 sections to the left and maybe 4 to the right of the entrance that we're talking about. If we were to take those down and store them with the intent at some point in the future to fixing them and bringing them back, there'd be no problem because of
Okay.
the safety issue that you're talking about.
Or
Well-
replacing them with something that's sound.
Well, right, but if the point I think he's making is, if the plan is not to remove them permanently, we'll be okay. As long as we're removing them
Well-
for safety issues and we will be replacing them at some point, they should be okay
Well,
with
but
it.
we're talking just the few sections around the drive.
Right.
Right,
So-
those are the worst
I
of
mean,
them, aren't
there,
they?
Right, when you
there's
get-
short term, there's long term. I think long term is if when we build the library there,
We just
that we
put a
take
nice
down
fence.
those pieces that are falling apart, maybe, and that's the whole section, I believe,
Yeah.
and put up something that's sound
Yeah,
and
oh,
safe.
sure.
Well,
So-
that's the bridge we're gonna have to cross.
Yeah, that's not.
on the line,
Was it
yeah.
Kate
Here in
Smith
town.
that said
Kate
that
Smith, yeah.
the rec commission wants a fence? They don't want kids that are using the park to just run out into the street chasing a ball or
Well,
something.
you know, it's not the rec's property. I mean, yes, I agree, I do, but, you know, it's not a dictation from them.
Yeah, the
They
rec
have
can
to
want
do.
whatever they
Right.
like, but they're
Yeah.
not putting the bill.
And they
for
could
it.
certainly, if they wanted to purchase the replacement sections or renovate the, current sections, they certainly can.
They are welcome to
Yeah.
fix our fence for
Yeah,
us.
What's our liability for this whole Girl Scout jamboree, whatever they're having?
They're just using, are they using our land or are they just using the park?
Well, let's say they
or
take a
whatever?
hike.
You're using the part in the back.
And they get hurt on our land. What's
Well,
our
yeah.
liability? Do they have a, do they
We
have
have
a?
liability insurance, don't we?
Still, should we be forced to, shouldn't we have some say in who's on that, I mean, a
Well, that could
jamboree
be
full
for
of
anybody that passes through the easement, but, I mean, there is an easement in place
Right.
where they, Joint Rec, has
Mhm.
the ability to drive it, to go through there.
Mhm.
And they do provide coverage.
Mhm.
I don't know how much their insurance plan covers for liability on that section, but it is part of the agreement.
Yeah,
And we don't have our area fenced off.
right. Yeah, it's not like it's,
Mm.
the whole area is not fenced off, so you can't get on
Right,
it.
so there are people that are using the park that go into our land
Yeah.
unaware perhaps that
Right,
that it
that,
is our
yeah, there's
land.
nothing inside the
And-
park
and
telling
there
you
could
you're
very
now
well be,
crossed into library
especially with all
land.
these kids there, some kids that are throwing
Okay.
frisbees and stuff.
No yellow
um,
brick road, nothing.
And there could be liability, but.
Yeah.
Which,
We do have something, though.
Yeah.
I know we do, I just don't know what it is.
yeah.
So what we need to decide tonight is to agree to remove the fence and replace it with something else?
Just.
Temporarily?
Just those
Just the
2 or 3
damaged
sections
portions.
on
But
either
replace it with
side.
something,
There's,
or
there's,
leave it
yeah,
open?
there's a couple issues is
Yeah.
where
Well,
to
it's-
store.
it basically
Well,
is open now.
We talked about removing about 10 lengths of it, but the issue there is where to store it.
Mm.
We don't have a place to store it, so we can table that discussion until next meeting, once we do a little more. We looked at the nuns' quarters possibly, about trying to see if we could open that up and store them there.
Sure.
But.
Yeah, I wanted to open up one of the panels, but Jim so made me stand down on that. Come on, let's go explore.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah,
something,
definitely
there is
the
definitely
library.
something going on. You could smell the mildew as you walk past it.
Oh, yeah, that building's probably gonna
Yeah.
It's not a healthy place
Not
to enter
pretty.
regardless.
So without a place to store a bunch of the links,
Wow.
to restore for
Behind you.
restoration later.
Well, it would just be
If
rusting.
it's
and-
even
But it's out in the
restorable.
open now anyway.
Well, right.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not
and that's
like-
another thing too, is a bunch of the links that, because let's say just the deer,
Hit the upper.
the bars or the vertical bars are broken off at points, that's what you were talking about, where kids
Sure.
could climb on
It's
that, hurt
dented and
themselves.
twisted and.
Yeah.
So if it's not restorable, we can have somebody do an art piece and put it on the new property,
There you
the
go.
new library.
There you go.
Is there anything that, can we replace with a fence that's somewhere, is there anything, it's an old fence, is it?
We can, if we want to, if we have funding. We certainly don't have funding at this
Not
point,
right now.
but, you know, the cost could be between, say, 120 and 250 for.
Per section?
Per section, per panel. So there's definitely cost, but there's also, panels that are very close, if not, more ornate than what's up there.
Right.
So, I don't think we lose anything.
Put different ones up and people can vote on which one they want for the future library.
Yeah.
Was there also discussion- was
There's
there
our
also
first step,
discussion
get 'em
about
all
widening
guessing.
the
But I think
entryway?
it's
Well, yeah,
definitely
that's one
worth
thing that.
planning for with the new library.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Because there's really no fence on the left of the road going over to the Haight Cemetery.
Yeah, it's funny the way it is, it's
Yeah.
just the road,
Yeah.
it's just a
Makes
fence
sense.
along 207 and it kinda stops.
Yeah.
And
so-
then there's nothing separating our property from.
Turning the
except for
corner
patch
of the
patch
property,
weeds.
right.
Yeah.
And the point was
And it's
made
a-
that there's poison ivy around it. I think that's a godsend.
Yeah,
You know,
me
so
too.
Leaves a tree, leave it be. Kids know that, and they'll stay off the fence. The young
Maybe that's
ones
what we
at
do,
least.
we just plant poison oak and
Yeah.
get done with it.
Yeah, they'll learn.
That-
No,
They'll learn,
so,
right.
Who gets
so,
that job?
so,
What's that?
Who gets that job?
so to table the taking out
Just
kennel
like this clip on
incidents.
YouTube. Your humane library planting poison oak.
Make it
Yeah.
the first link on our website.
Who are these people?
But we can't afford a fence, so we
There's a
put up some
gnome in the
nettle.
poison ivy. Find it.
You know,
You're mean.
What are we-
See, I'm not making them go in the poison ivy, I was trying to use it as a barrier.
if you looked at the pictures that Bernie and Jim provided,
Yeah.
it,
Oh, it's
those
bad.
sections really should be taken
They
down.
should be taken
I mean,
down,
it
but
just
yeah.
really takes away from, I mean, that's the only entrance. That's what people see, and,
Yeah.
So what are we
it's kinda
tabling?
scary.
So
What
we're
are we
tabling,
tabling?
well, I don't know
What
exactly,
we need
what
to
are we
table?
tabling?
The
Well,
permit?
because we
We
have
need
no
to
place to
table.
put the.
Well, I mean, we can
panels.
put them behind the nurses' quarters for now.
We can
No,
certainly
it's
take
close.
one or
No, it's
maybe
close.
two lengths of
I know.
off to widen the entrance. In other words.
See, bring that up.
Yeah,
Why?
that was the other,
Well,
That's the other
because,
reason too.
because there is still, somewhat of an issue if there's something busy going on actually in the park where people are parking
Sure.
out there.
When somebody's.
Yeah, no, when people are leaving the park and they wanna make a left turn on the 207, they will stay to the left of the entrance leaving.
yeah.
And anybody coming in on a busy day
Can't
can't
get
get off at 207, and we don't want that problem to persist.
Sure.
So if we could do something to take off one or two lengths of fence on the left side while we're leaving, maybe
Just
even
out
move them
from
to
the
the
front.
right-hand side to replace the mangled fence that I think
Yeah.
we can almost agree that we can get rid of the mangled fence, because there's no restoring that.
No,
one.
there isn't. Is there someone who could take it as scrap?
Yes, yeah, they can, the town can
Maybe
take that, or we can
20,
call
30
somebody,
bucks.
maybe the guy who took the trailer.
Well, if it's a historical thing. I
But
guess
if we're
At
going
this
to
point, it's
replace it, the
garbage.
planning, it's garbage, whether it's historical or not, but if we tell the planning board that we do intend to replace it, we'll be okay to remove the hazardous pieces, is that what?
But I think we should just take whatever we take down and store it.
Okay.
And, because then you have to get into what's the replacement gonna look like, and it's
Well,
not gonna match the others
You
exactly.
have a whole
and
bunch
you
of
should-
other panels around that park to look at.
Yeah.
I say we save it for future.
Just
Yeah,
take it
and then,
out,
right, that's probably the best idea, unless somebody who knows what they're talking about, cause this is getting involved.
So where are we saving it?
We're saving it,
Let's
behind
take a
the
look.
Saving
The
it too.
mangled pieces.
Let's take a look at the
It won't
building that
impale
we have to
anybody
see
anyway.
if we can, on the end, it almost looks like there's like a shed on the end that's by the road, which is, we need to open that up, there's plywood there,
Yeah.
and it's probably just an empty space. we could just put them in there.
Yeah, it actually looks like an overhang.
Is that what we had,
almost.
yeah,
Gardeners.
right, we
It's
had
like a
that.
gardener's overhang or something.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
do we need to
Maybe
go
it's just
to,
gone.
do we need permission to take that down
Martin.
from the planning
Well, we
board at
can't
all?
take it down until we talk to the planning board, but I think they're gonna rubber stamp it for safety reasons.
Okay, and then we need to hire
But we
somebody?
need to, and we have to hire somebody.
I thought it was the JRC that would be taking that down.
They, since they're the ones that wanna widen
Right.
the entrance, they may agree to take those sections down that we want down and
Well,
put them in there.
Who has repaired it over the years? Put on these
That's what I
clamps to
asked
keep
before.
it together? Huh?
That's
Yeah,
what I asked
joint-
before, who
joint rec
repaired
has,
it?
yeah.
Somebody
So
has.
that's fine, yeah,
The
so.
town hired
And is
somebody,
it-
but I
so-
don't know.
And they didn't come to us that I'm
Right, they
aware
never
of, to say,
discussed
could we
it
put a
with us.
clamp to keep this from falling down?
Right.
So, it's no big deal for those guys, right?
So yeah, well, it's so the goal tonight is just to make the plan and to ask JRC to take care of it, which we can do, which we're doing basically at this point.
I think so, I think
to
the
take-
plan is to let the planning board
Especially
know we're taking
the-
it down for safety reasons, is that okay, and get their blessing.
And we're
And then-
storing it,
And then we're
that
gonna
we're
restore
storing
it
it.
eventually, the plan is not to get rid of the fence, the plan is to make it safe.
And
And
yeah.
then see if JRC can do it for us,
Right.
so that will save us some money, and if they already have the manpower and they already do this sort of thing, then
And if
it is
not,
gonna
we can,
benefit them.
for 2 links, we might be able to just do it ourselves. I don't know
You might
how-
be able
how
to,
heavy
yeah.
they are,
And,
but with four people, we could.
Yeah, we had Martin seal up that house, I don't know what exactly he did to seal it up, cause we were having
Oh,
teenagers
it's all
going
spewed
out
in
there,
there,
yeah.
it's
Who did
secure.
that work?
Martin Van Haster,
Okay, maybe.
Oh, really?
yeah, we had Martin Van Haster repair seal the place up.
They
with
really
something.
sealed it up.
That's,
Yeah, he
yeah,
did
they did
an
a
excellent
great
job.
job.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Were you trying to break
Stick
it
a
in?
hole inside and-
No,
Yeah.
no, we couldn't even fathom breaking in, it's such a nice job.
Yeah, he did such a, he really, oh,
It would have been too hard to break it.
well, he did a very good job.
Maybe we can get him to open it up for us.
Well, right, that's why I don't know exactly what he did, but I'm sure he
I
knows
think
what he did,
Right.
so.
Electric screwdriver.
Yeah, if we can just meet him there for
Yeah.
Saturday and then we'll screw it.
Alright, then we can do that.
I would like to, I don't know if I would go in there, but I'd like to see him there.
Well,
Make
the
sure you
end,
have
the
the-
end part, yeah, the end part is probably not
That's
an
probably just
issue.
a shed.
Yeah, we should open
No,
up the.
mildew from the outside.
Well, if all you're doing is just going right in, we're not gonna explore, going spelunking through the, we're gonna have a problem. So you're just gonna go in there and put the stuff there so it's not out in the elements and not out for.
Put it in the front.
Well, we don't want anybody getting hurt. If we're just removing it from one place to another outdoors, we're not solving a problem.
Well, if it's behind.
Yeah, well,
Then
that's
it's
fine.
closed.
Have stuff
So
behind
if
it.
If it's out in the open,
It's
it-
hard
it
enough for
might
us to
be-
get back there.
Should we have a motion to authorize either Matt or Bernie to,
Facilitate.
approach
Planning
planning
board.
board?
I don't think we need a motion for that. I think you just do it. You're the building committee,
Well, but the building committee,
Well,
makes
I thought Ted
recommendations
was
to
going
the
to it
board. The
anyway.
board, I think the board has to authorize, and usually an authorization is in the form of a motion.
Yeah, we'll ask,
I thought Ted Lewis was gonna
Ted offered
ask.
to at least take it up with the planning
Okay.
board.
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes you need.
I don't think it needs to be all that formal, not that,
Yeah.
I think it's just.
Hey, is
we're
it
gonna
okay if
do-
these guys take this
Right,
stuff down?
and,
It's
you
a
know,
danger
just so
as
we're,
is.
I don't imagine they're gonna come after us.
Yeah.
and be, I don't
And
expect
we'll-
it, but
yeah.
if we just let them know what we're doing.
Yeah, we're just taking it down and storing it.
Right, we're just taking it
for
down
these
and
2
storing it
meetings.
so nobody gets hurt. And, eventually we'll fix it nice and put it back up and beautiful. And I think
The only thing I would say about that is that when I was on the school board, we went through these training sessions, and they said you are a locally elected official, and the only time you have authority is when you vote or make motions.
Okay.
Other than that, you're just like anybody else in the community. You can't walk into the school, you can't tell people to do things.
Mhm.
Everything comes, the only or power you have is at that meeting. When the
Right.
meeting's in session, and when you're making motions and when you're voting.
I make
So,
a motion.
My feeling is that we should authorize, the board makes the decision to authorize people to do things. For example, if we had opened up that building
Right.
on Saturday,
Yeah.
or Sunday, I guess it was, we would have been trespassers.
On our own.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Because it's not our building.
Well,
Well,
Ours
actually,
are built
we're
on-
on,
actually,
we're on
as
that
all the
committee.
members of the board, we, actually own the building.
Yeah, and as the
Yeah,
members of the
and
board.
Well, I mean,
Well,
we
no, you
trust
don't.
the
No, we
upkeep.
don't. No, we don't own the building.
Safeguarding.
Yeah, actually we can, that's
No.
why we were able to buy the land.
The
because we're
library
trustees.
as an institution owns the building. We as
Right.
members of this board. do.
Right, but we are the
Oh,
trustees,
Yeah,
so we
we act on
own it
behalf of
in
the
trust
library.
for the people of
Okay.
Goshen. But,
That's why I feel more comfortable with
all right,
giving
well, you know what?
authorization.
Motion.
Let's make a motion then. Bernie can handle it. All right, Bernie?
Sure, thanks.
All right,
The
so let's
motion
make a
is-
motion
the
that
mo-
Bernie, handles this. I'm sorry, that's really
The
sloppy.
motion has to do with,
Dealing with the planning board and.
communicating with the planning board and the building inspector,
And the bill.
with the goal of, taking down,
The, broken.
sections of fence and storing them for possible either future restoration or replacement.
And asking,
Just let them know that we're doing it for safety reasons.
Yeah, for safety
and
reasons.
put the focus on that, we're not taking it down because we're getting rid of the fence. As long as I think if they understand it's for safety reasons, and help
yeah.
So we're preserving.
Right.
And we're
And we
storing-
are
and we're
going to
storing.
restore them
Garbage.
eventually, or, and if it, at the time, when the time comes, if whoever does iron work looks at it and says, well, we can't restore this, then that's that, we do something new, but
Sure.
that's the goal right now.
And getting a hold of Martin too, to take a look inside the storage.
Well, we have to coordinate that with when.
After.
Yeah, well, that's.
If I'm
I don't think
available,
we
I
have
can
to,
certainly help if it comes to that,
we
and
don't-
taking these pieces
I
down
don't
and
think that
putting
has to be
them in.
included in the motion, I think
Right.
the fact that we're deputizing you to take care of this.
Contacting the necessary parties
Yes,
and.
ma'am.
You
I
can
just
put it
have,
in-
I'm having a little trouble understanding the motion.
Right, we're trying to,
What do you have
we're
so-
actually
what do you have
motioning it
so
out
far?
yet, we
Do I need to
haven't.
speak to the planning board with respect to removal of the fences, of the damaged fencing for future restoration and reasons being
storage.
safety reasons?
Yeah.
For this,
For
is that
safe-
about right?
For safety reasons.
For safety reasons?
Yeah, and that would even say
That's
planning
the
board
reason.
and any other interested parties.
Yeah, right, that's a good way.
And other- okay,
And
thank
other
you.
interested party, that's a good way to cover it. Alright, so we'll say Jim made that motion. And Keith seconded.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nobody opposed it? Is Jim and Keith?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Word for word.
Ready? I'm gonna write it down.
Aye.
Ready?
Did you
Ready?
make them?
No,
The flip side of
Yeah.
us owning that land or being our land is that we owed money on the loan.
Yeah, no, I know.
True, yeah.
I know, but we have the right as the board though, as the board does, as an entity, the board does, and members of the board assume it while we're here and when
I
we're
want the
gone.
borders.
It's whoever's on the board. But we owe it in trust for the people of Goshen.
Trust.
But that's why we are trustees. See how that works? It's kinda nifty, huh?
Oh.
Oh, look at that, look at
Oh.
that. I know. Is there more to discuss, or are we done with this?
We can talk briefly about the gutter that occurred on Friday.
Oh, I was wondering about the rain.
You
What
want-
happened?
No, you got more information to use.
And on Friday, it was downstairs around 4:30, Bernie was upstairs working with Jack on a spreadsheet, and I noticed that there was a puddle on the floor, and at first I thought it was that the dehumidifier had sprung over. David, while I was doing my lunch, got under the table and examined it, it was dry as a bone. Then I realized that there, see the crack, where you could see the tiles, there's that slight crack there. Some of them look like they moved apart at the time, but I realized all the water's coming up from there. I think Danny may have told me about that a long time ago, but I just sort of put it out of mind. It's not a huge thing, it is probably, maybe 3 feet around on the side.
Well, look at this.
In the staff room. And so Bernie, I called Bernie down to take a look at it, since he was in the building, I could bother him with this. And, we looked all over and couldn't find any other puddles anywhere. So Bernie kept wondering, why is it just this section? Why it's, finally went up and went outside in the rain and looked, and sure enough, there's this water spout coming off the front of the roof into one place. I don't know still whether it's a break there, or if it's just clogged and backed up and that's where it happened to fall. Because tonight when I went out, it's actually a little wider. It was like that when we were looking at that now. Anyway, so Bernie, we were trying to kind of brainstorm what we could do. And what we wanted to do, of course, was get the water further away from the side of the building. So Bernie was nice enough to rig up a tarp that kind of wicks away some of the water for the time being.
It's working.
Yeah, it seemed to help. It's dry in there now. I did talk to Danny about it today. And as I was talking to Danny, I had one of the 3 roofers sitting on the back roof in the room with me. So I got off the phone with Danny. I said, "Look, what's up? It's a roofer right here. Maybe he said he'd come on the next dry day, when he looks at the back roof and look at that at the same time and see what the issue is, and if it's something easy to just So, it's a good thing, I guess, to get out once in a while when it's raining and look at the roof. You can see all kinds of things you don't see when it's not raining. Just those weird little things. But Danny said by the time he came, we cleaned up with the mop and we left the mop out. Bernie helped pull everything out of the room because we weren't sure how much water was going to be in there by the time Danny got here at 4 o'clock. But Danny said when he got here, there was very little. So I don't know if the rain just slowed down or if by that time your contraption was.
It took away, probably took away enough, well, I think both.
Yeah.
It picked up raining that evening, but it probably took away enough of the water that it stopped the waterlogged soil from, it seemed like, or most likely that the waterlogged soil was coming through the wall, not the floor.
Yeah.
It wasn't coming up from the floor, it was coming through the brick wall. Particularly because that's where the paint is peeling, you can take a look at it later, so just flooding and coming in.
So it's mortar? Is it brick and mortar? That's what the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
need to be repointed?
Well, it's under, I don't know.
Underground.
How do you
It's
dig it?
underground.
Yeah, you have to dig it up.
The foundation.
So you dig away,
Yeah.
people dig away, and then repoint.
Add it to the list.
There we go.
Let's get out.
Gosh, quiet,
This
Ryan.
place.
Well, we have $25,000 for repairs.
We gotta do the
So we
roof
can-
first.
we can-
Well, if we do the roof and it doesn't drip like that.
They'll just come up.
Yeah.
Come here.
We had that problem with the last hurricane. that came up.
Danny says this back part, the new part, has some, I don't know what you call it, I mean, it's a special kind of, like a wicking system, some kind of Parisian drain or something drain.
French drain.
But the old part, obviously, doesn't.
French
I don't know where I came up with. It just
Oh.
sounds more romantic.
That's funny.
Because the same thing is happening, I noticed today, on the side by Ann's office. I look out and you see just this spout coming
Yes.
down. We saw it
Saw
too.
that on Friday too,
And
yeah.
I, but it doesn't seem to be having any effect on anywhere else in the building yet.
Well, her office is lower, I'm sorry, above ground.
Oh, that's
But
true.
what's under it? I mean, I was thinking it.
The pit.
No? Yeah.
The pit.
The
Oh,
pit.
the pit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You may wanna check them.
Yeah.
No, they.
So anyway,
French drain is simply a hole filled with gravel.
that's what I thought, yeah, I've seen
With
that,
the
okay.
pipe with holes in it.
Sometimes
Yeah,
they'll put
it's
in
a
drains.
little
That's fancy.
What kind?
What's that?
That's
Sometimes
the one.
putting
That's one we
drains.
use.
Putting drains, right.
What, while we're on the topic, what, RCLS apparently had a new parking lot put in that actually acts as a drain as well. It's built in such a way that it wicks all the water away from it. Have you heard of this? I don't know. You seem to, alternate sound like something fairly new, some new approach to keeping your basement dry.
Just
Smart
pitching-
approach.
just pitching it away
Ratings.
from-
Really good, it's a smart approach.
The only
That
other.
would be a big focus for us, I think.
On the side of the building also, there's actually, I can tell you or not, there's a bit of a corner of PVC pipe. The pipe that actually goes out to, was it Hill Street?
Yes.
Not on the street, but further in behind the bushes, there's actually a
Cracked.
corner that's cracked open on top.
Okay.
So we should look to do something, just to put a cover on top of it or something like that, so people don't step in there by accident. But, that's all I got.
Fantastic.
What about the
Going
sewer
on.
line?
That's enough.
Oh, well,
Oh, yeah,
I'll bring
we
this
have
before.
one, yeah.
That'd be another my director's office.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, Jen, you're
Jennifer's
up.
turn.
Alright.
A little levity, a little more
Yeah, hi, guys.
upbeat.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
So a few things. One, since you guys are the sponsor of I Remain Jane Austen, I figured I'd fill you guys in on how our first 2 weekends went. Our first weekend we had a gallery opening with Sheila St. Lawrence. I don't know if you guys know her, she's a local hairdresser. She's right between here and the theater, next door. Really, really nice lady who I had never met before. We had a gallery opening and I'd say there were 50 people, that's about right, downstairs. And then afterwards we had I Remain Jane Austen, which was a huge success. People have been raving about it. On Saturday, we actually had to turn people away. And then we had 35 people for a Sunday matinee on a beautiful day when the races were running. And the Greek Fest was happening on 211. And we still had 35 people come. And I think it was about half and half reservations and half walk-ins. So that's really exciting, that we had to turn people away. That's awesome. It's a great thing. So since you guys are the sponsor, I figured I would fill you in on how that's going. By the way, we have another show Friday and Saturday at 7 and on Sunday at 2. I know it's not a big Father's Day type show, but if Dad's going away, playing golf or whatever, you guys can go if you want. Or if you want to bring your dad to the Jane Austen show, do so. There's also going to be special Father's Day raffles and door prizes. So cool stuff. The other thing is we're doing Shakespeare in the Park in Salesian, which we've been talking a lot about, so it seems very apt. This year we're doing the Mayor Wise of Windsor, which I'm directing, which is really exciting. We have our first rehearsal tomorrow. So I'm really excited because I cut a 3.5-hour script in 75 minutes. That was a daunting task, but that's really exciting. And people have already started to come up and ask me about it. You know, when is it? Do I have to reserve tickets? How many people can the tent fit? Are you getting a bigger tent than you did last year? People are really excited about this. And like, I have a friend that lives in Rockland County, and we were at one of her friends works at a restaurant. We were with him, and one of his coworkers was like, "Oh yeah, I heard about that. I guess I'll go this year." So we're making really big strides, which is really, really awesome and cool. So that's exciting and fun. The other thing is Cornerstone is looking into grants or other, I don't think donations is the right word, but other ways of funding. We realized one of the problems is our theater is not handicap accessible. It's a big problem for us, especially, I hate to say it, Goshen's got a lot of old people. A lot of them can't get up 2 flights of stairs. It's a long way. It's a flight and a half. So, yeah, and it's an old building, so it's not really, it's a lot of stairs. So we're looking into getting one of those stair lift chair things, but they are really expensive. So we're looking into grants, maybe fundraising, donations. I'm not really sure how, but that's a big thing is we want to make our theater handicap accessible, because we face the exact same problems that the Goshen Library faces with old buildings, not having an elevator, etc. The other thing is we're also looking into other spaces to perform. Ken in the past has done plays like Einstein and Cobb in the school building, and then we do Shakespeare in Salesian Park. So we're also kind of entertaining that idea of, if it's really successful, bringing it to somewhere bigger or more handicap accessible possible. In August we have the teen acting workshop coming up, which we already have some people registered for, which is for ages 13 to 17. Which is the last week of August. I'm like 95% sure. And then we're doing our first musical ever, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Really exciting, groundbreaking. And then in November, we are doing Sisters Under the Skin by Paulette McDougall. And that name might sound familiar to you because we just did Waiting for MacArthur, which was written by her. And Ken did his artistic thing and took a lot out, added some stuff, put in slides, things that were not in her script. So she heard that we had done it, and she's like, "How'd you find out about my play?" And I was like, "We do obscure historical plays." So we sent her a DVD. She liked it so much, she's giving us the rights to do a world premiere of Sisters Under the Skin. It'll be the first time it's performed ever. So when you buy the play, you open it, it will say, "This play was first performed at Cornerstone Arts Alliance, 223 Main Street," and the cast will be listed there. So we will forever be in history as the world premiere.
Very nice.
So, lots of really exciting things happening. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. This year, for Shakespeare in the Park, we are switching things up a little bit, trying to make it more interesting, more family friendly. We're doing some giveaways. Okay. This is my mom's idea, so I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. It's July. It's outside. It's hot. So we decided to make paper, get cardboard fans made up, like on a popsicle stick. However, it says Shakespeare in the Park, Cornerstone Arts Alliance. There's a picture of Shakespeare, full color, and on the back it says, "I'm a Shakespeare fan." There we go. Thank you. So we're going to be giving those out. Any donation you put into our donation box gets you a fan. Could be a nickel, could be a dime, could be a 50. We take 50s and 100s. We don't like change. Oh, and sponsored by Goshen. Because we made it work. That's right. And sponsored by Goshen Public Library. Did you say GPLHS or Goshen Public Library and Historical Society?
Full out.
Goshen Public Library and Historical
Nice.
Society.
It's better.
What's better? Yeah.
GPLHS, nobody knows what that is.
Yeah, sometimes I have to explain. This year I also thought it'd be really cool if we had T-shirts for Shakespeare in the Park. 'Cause Cornerstone, for $20 donation, you get a Cornerstone T-shirt that says, "Live through the arts." Oh God, what is our slogan? I don't even remember. It's our slogan.
Back
The
the
art
arts.
sounds great.
Thank you.
I'm a backer of the arts.
There we go. And it's got the Cornerstone logo on the front, and that's a $20 donation. Well, I designed a T-shirt that has a big crown. It says, "Keep calm and we have willpower." And on the back has Cornerstone's logo, Shakespeare in Salesian Park, sponsored by this one says GPLHS because I can't fit that many characters on the shirt. And for a $10 donation, you'll be able to get that shirt. However, the problem we're running into is actually buying the shirts. We're looking at about $500 for 100 shirts. So we're going to be doing some fundraising and seeing if we can make some things happen to get that going, and then hopefully we'll be able to recoup some of our money back, maybe make a little bit of a profit, which might go to the brand new chairlift that we really want to have. We really want to get everybody access to our shows. So that's what's going on at Cornerstone. Thanks for giving us your money. We like it. The other people like it. We come in, they have a free show, and people are coming to them, we're flocking, which is awesome. Is there anything else that I missed? Oh, yes, thanks. Nice. See all those really ratty, awful plastic chairs we have? We're getting rid of them. Yay. We are very close to getting brand new chairs that are much nicer, much more comfortable, and don't look like they need to be painted all the time. And they are cushioned. You don't have to bring your own cushion. They have actual cushions. And they don't feel like you're gonna, fall through them when you sit on them. So that's really exciting. So we might use those for outdoor performances. To give, huh?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. For maybe someone who might be a little elderly or might have trouble getting in and out of some of those lawn chairs, we might take a couple of those and have them ready to go, because if they get wet or dirty, they're plastic, we can just hold them down. So that's not a problem. I think that's everything now that I've covered it all. Oh, yeah, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns, queries? I can't think of any other literature things to... Yes?
You might want to look at those chairs that we have upstairs in the local history room that we got at Sam's Club. They fold up.
Mm-hmm.
They're plastic, so they're waterproof, weatherproof. They're very comfortable. They're actually a little bit soft, so when you sit on them, I mean, you can sit there for 45 minutes and you don't feel uncomfortable.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're really comfortable, so you might want to consider that too.
Yeah, cool, thank you. I'll bring it to Donna and Ken. Anything else? What?
Mention Donna.
Oh, what about Donna?
She's the president.
Oh yeah, Donna Silver McCormick, who I'm sure most of you know because everybody in Goshen knows her because she's not afraid to talk to anybody, is the president of Cornerstone. We did a little bit of reorganization. Ken is now the artistic director of theater, and we now have a president, board of trustees, a secretary, treasurer. We do not have a vice president as of yet, but we do have, since we have the board of trustees, they're sort of acting as a group vice president to ratify all their decisions. That sounds so official, but and we have a really nice group of volunteers also. We're always looking for more volunteers. So come and give us your time and your money. All that good stuff. Now I've covered everything, I think. So, if anyone has any questions, you can ask my mom. She'll tell you where to find me, or you can Facebook me, or text me, or call me, or email me. I'm up on all the 21st century stuff. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good
you're welcome.
job.
Okay, director's report.
Follow that one.
There, deep breath and
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, I told you the most interesting stuff already, but, oh yeah, I mean, it's all here in black and white. I am in contact with this grant writer, a local grant writer that one of the friends referred me to. He's got an amazing resume. He unfortunately has some computer problems since last week, so I'm having a hard time getting all the stuff he's going to send me about his, we just talked about it, so I'll have more stuff in the upcoming weeks. But he's apparently run a company for a number of years as a grant writer, mostly for schools, libraries, other educational institutions. So that's his focus, and very successful at it. Lots of great ideas. I mean, he just, I said right off the bat that grants are kind of unknown territory for me. I've never really had to write them. I've helped out and stuff, but he said it really is an art, and a lot of people don't really know how to squeeze out as much as you often can if you know how to do it. And he was telling me about, for instance, often people write grants, but they don't don't ask for any money for a project coordinator because they're just assuming they're going to be the coordinator. He said that's a big mistake people make because usually you can get somebody built into the grant to actually take care of seeing it through, so you don't end up having to do that work as well as the work you're doing to run the library or whatever it is. So he just had a number of things like that made me think, wow, this could work. Question about the about payment though. He either works as a consultant or as a staff member part-time. He said in New York you can't, that business about being paid, I don't know if there are yeah, percentage doesn't fly in New York for whatever reason. Certain states that you can do that in, you can't do that in New York. So it's either gotta be a consultant, certain number of hours per, he'll, you know, bill you, or or as a staff member, X amount of hours up. And that's, you know, he said we could talk about that down the line, but he's gonna send me the rest of his resume as he's able, and, I'll speak with some of you about it anyway, in smaller groups or whatever, see what you wanna do, but that's down the line. Paul Mays was excited to come back. It's been a while. He now has a kind of a protocol that he uses. He actually comes for a flat fee of, it's $400. He comes for the full day. Speaks to the director and the key staff about what they're, you know, you kind of prepare for him coming, what you're looking for in a new library, he just kind of goes over some of that. We've been over it a few times, but kind of gets in his head what we're looking for, what we're looking to do, what's available to us in terms of what kind of space we would want. Walks around the library, and then in the evening he comes back to a meeting and brings what he's learned from the staff to the trustees and gets your input. The dates, those are the weeks that he's available. I said we'd probably stick with September because that was the original. But I said I'm not sure. I'll bring the board dates, and so I think we'll stick with the September unless somebody has an objection or would like to hear next month or whatever. I indicated.
So his meeting is just in-house, it doesn't involve community at this time?
No, the
Okay.
first thing he does is just in-house, just talking to.
And week of is the whole week, or
No,
is Mondays?
we take a day of that
Of
week.
that
One
to
day.
have
Well,
some-
not, but like, did you try to coordinate Mondays, or are we, or
I think
is
we
the
would have
whole?
a separate.
he's
You
opening
probably would
with
have,
him.
yeah, that's
a
what I
work
was
We're
thinking.
gonna have a work
Right.
session with him,
Okay.
I think that's more
Good,
productive.
okay, alright.
Yeah,
So-
something like that Wednesday or something.
So it wouldn't be the normal meeting,
No.
because these look like they coincide with the weeks.
Yeah, well, it is the
Right,
week
the ninth
of, the
is a-
9th is the week of our meeting.
Okay.
So if we had him like on the 11th or 12th or something, that would be fine.
Okay.
I keep promising to change that DVD fine fee, but I realize the more I look at it, the more I wanna just look at the circulation policies in general, because everything kinda hinges off other things. I wanna do it as a global. I wanna bring a few more things before I, instead of just piecemeal, let's change. I said, I wanna look at the whole thing and kinda make some changes, and then bring it next meeting, and you can agree with all of them, or none of them, or some of them, but at least I'll have, kind of something to present. Taking other local libraries' circulation policies and just, of libraries that are our size, and just seeing how they work it, just talking to a few people, so. And at that time, once that's done, Carol will go forward with the reprinting of the, policy manual, which makes sense, cause it's the beginning of the new fiscal year, July, so, new edition of the manual, a few new, policy updates.
So, go back to Paul Hayes just for one second.
Sure.
So we're gonna go with the week of September 9th. It's not gonna be the Monday of our meeting.
Right.
It'll be, Wednesday or Thursday based upon his schedule, is that the, okay.
I'll check, I'll talk to him tomorrow, so I'll know.
Okay.
You shoot for a Wednesday rather than Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to-
Tuesdays don't work for me.
My availability, because I might be back to school night.
I was gonna say, yeah, open houses and stuff, so.
Yeah,
Oh, is
so
that
we,
right? That would
yeah.
be that
Can you
one.
check
So we would-
your calendars? How
Yeah.
soon you think you'll have that?
Unfortunately, it's not done till July, August.
Yeah,
Um,
sometime over the summer.
That could
So
be a
it's
problem.
generally that week though, like was that the second week of school?
Every
Is that-
year is
Okay.
is
Oh,
different,
yeah,
and because
so-
it's, the years for the kids is starting later, might wanna do it as soon as possible. So, I don't know when my district,
Should we
the
move it up to
calendar,
August?
I don't get the calendar until,
Well, didn't you have people going away in August?
Yeah, I'll be away.
yes.
No. I think that's why we decided on September.
Maybe we should wait.
Now we have people not around for September.
Yeah, well,
I
why
mean,
don't we
you
try,
gotta
but it
plan
doesn't
at
have to be
some
the week
point.
of our meeting, like,
No, it
is
doesn't.
this,
Right.
did you ask him because that's the week of our meeting?
He get, these
or-
are the weeks he gave me.
All
He
right.
said I'll be.
Well, see if he's available later in the month or maybe early October, would that work? I know we have 3 teachers on the board, that
Okay.
is a big consideration.
You think October would be free of those?
Would that be easier?
Yes, October is better because November we're getting into parent-teacher conferences, and that's, I have to be
Okay.
there as well.
Or is it a matter of asking whoever puts
It's
this
my
schedule
job, I work.
together if they have dates already?
What?
She said they're not gonna do it.
They
don't do that
have
until
the calendar
summertime.
July.
They
They
don't
don't
hand out the
decide.
calendar,
They
or
don't
they
even-
don't?
They don't put
The
dates
calendar's
together.
made up during the summer, but the
Right.
administrators meet.
Yeah,
We
so-
don't get, I don't get the
Mine will
calendar
most
until the
likely be
first day of
later,
school.
but I
Right,
can't.
but maybe they know the dates before then, before they put the calendar out, to the publisher. It's just a matter of asking, no?
Maybe Paul can
It's a
pencil
matter
in for 2
of
days.
when
one
my
in-
district
one
decides,
in
they will
September.
decide.
Summer
The
retreat.
Wednesday in
Can't
September
ask
and the Wednesday in
beforehand.
October.
No.
And then we'll know in July, maybe.
When I know the dates, I
We
will
know the dates.
Okay.
let Matt know.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, see if you can do later in, or October, 'cause
Okay.
October seems to be better,
Okay.
but later in September.
Okay.
If you can't, you can't,
All
but the
right.
more people we can have here, the better.
So, summer newsletter, thank you. It's a
Great.
great piece that you
Unless
wrote.
it's over.
And, I have to go into my lament about the newsletter, but it's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
For us, it's a big job. I'm always happy when it's over, but then all of a sudden here it comes again, it's quarterly. I shouldn't complain. I mean, Michelle does most of the coordination. I just what happens is, every time, is you have all these stakeholders or what have you that want a piece of the newsletter. It's very difficult to kind of we tried for a while having people meet and give me what, doesn't work. People are too busy. So usually I have to hound, I don't ever have to hound the board of trustees, but it's hard to get it all together, it's a difficult task. I hate to run a newspaper. But it's nice when it's done. Gerald Nichols, Bernie was with me at RCLS. He's the professor that I've been talking about. Glowing praise, and he's great. Oh yes, that's right. I sent you guys an email. I know most of you are working, but I'm sure they'll archive it tomorrow. Is Jerry Nichols'
Webcast.
Webcast?
Library
Thank you.
webcast,
Of role of a trustee in a public library. It should be
Right.
interesting. He's a good speaker, no?
Yeah.
He's fun to listen to.
He's preaching to the choir,
Right.
but
Yeah.
still very good,
Still
very
good.
keeping everybody's attention, engaging everybody.
And you could tell that he's thought a lot about this stuff, nothing ever comes off like glib, I mean, he really is kind of lived it, and he's pretty passionate about it all, so it's always fun to watch someone who's good at what they do, and, I guess I shouldn't quote numbers here, unless we want to go into executive session about the, about the plumbing, right, but we did have Jones here, that was a few weeks ago now, and it's scoped. And I don't know how many of you availed yourself of the video. Okay.
I did.
So you just kind of know what state of the pipe is. We'll have to think about what you want to do about it, but I do have
Well,
the first estimate.
it does appear the bathroom is used quite frequently.
Did you notice that Tom's main toothpaste floating around down there?
No, I didn't look that closely.
Oh.
Sounds like a must see.
Anyway. I had 2 roofers here today, so we should have all of the estimates in soon for the roof. I don't know why they suddenly magically appeared today, because I've been trying to get them for a while, but they both think they're coming almost at the same time. One of them just showed up. The other one I had planned to meet at 12:15, so it's just one of those things. They both said they try to get their numbers to me by Thursday.
So you have 3 altogether?
Yes, and the first one I may have to have the guy look at it again, because Danny gave me a handy dandy 5-page thing of what he wants done, and so only the last 2 guys got to see that, so the first guy's gonna have to see that too, so they're all the same page. Technology, Casey is fairly adept with technologies, working with David on, I don't totally always understand exactly what they're doing, but I see the results, and the results are good. They're along with Jen as well, kind of coordinating the various social media so that, I guess on our website, on our server, like all the images for a particular event or whatever are stored, and somehow he set it up so that this is a simple oversimplification, but you pull the image and you drop it in one thing and it somehow propagates onto other things, other media, so that you see it on, same thing on the Facebook, will be on the web page, will be on the, whatever. But, and it just seems it seems to have economized, just keeping that kind of thing together, keeping the PR stuff, the electronic PR stuff, more efficient, I guess, than it was before. So. Friends, yes, they're giving us a lot of money, and had our first book sale. Jim and I organized another big band event. There was some discussion between Jim and I and school as to whether we should move the venue to another, maybe the middle school, or what was it,
The auditorium.
auditorium
For
over
the
there.
middle school.
Jim decided it was probably best to keep it within walking distance to the library and the same place it was last year, so there's no confusion about where. Keep moving it, and it's gonna just.
It's very intimate too, the way it is down,
Yeah,
rather than
people
up
like,
on a
people
stage.
enjoy it. I mean, I didn't hear one complaint about
No.
that venue, so.
It's a big band.
Yes, big band, ice cream social. And I spoke to, I think you may have also, just in case, I called Elizabeth again, just to make sure that she was aware that we're down there, not here, and so she'll be there. Let's see, I mean, that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much it. I do have to mention that it is, it's employee evaluation time, because July's coming up. That means it's my review time too, so the Human Resources Committee has to meet at some point. Talk to me.
Well, you've seen Bernie's spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
Just keep it in mind.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a reflection of our esteem for you.
I know. Actually, I want to hand these out to you. This is from Michelle. She wanted to share this with you guys. This is her dig into reading. Pre-summer, just right there. This is the summer reading
She
stuff.
did such nice stuff.
So, this is their programming down here.
Thank you.
The Friends, I probably said this already, and I think I mentioned in the report, have purchased 2 Kindle Fires, one for the young adult and one for the adult first prize.
Nice. I'm sorry, the date of the big band,
August 3rd, Saturday. You want one? Sure. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm forgetting something. It's a very busy month, actually. Oh, I know. The Friends also have talked to me about getting the wood re-oiled in the front of the building. That's why I feel it's busy, because I've had all these contractors. So I have, somebody already came through, a couple people came through to look at what the job is. And I wasn't sure yet what I wanted from them. I mean, I guess I had mixed ideas, because I had talked to a couple people. What we really want, I think, is to have it cleaned and then linseed oil, not re-stained or anything, because they kept saying, you want stain, you want polyurethane? I don't know, I think we just wanted oil. We want it conditioned, I kept saying. We just want it clean and conditioned. And then one guy suggested that you do 90% of it just conditioning, but he said there are some things like the door and the circulation desk that you might want to have touched up, because there's a lot of gashes and stuff in it. So I said, well, I'll run that by them. Maybe I can get 2 proposals, one just oiling and one with some of that touch-up stuff, because that's where the expense would probably be the bigger part. But so I had this one crew come through, the ones that you sent me, and they gave me a proposal which was for a total staining of the place, which is not. I called them back and said, I'm sorry, that's kind of not what we were looking for now, in retrospect. But I had Jim Levite, one of the Friends, who's a carpenter, brought kind of an independent guy who wasn't really looking for work, just was an expert on wood and on preservation, and he was the one that said, I think you're just looking at it, linseed oil. So I'll go back to them and get that. But as I say, then I have these roofers coming through and then the plumbers, and it just gets kind of interesting. But so I don't know, I think that's it, unless I've forgotten to mention something that you guys want to hear about.
Is this then home with, like, when she does her visits to the schools?
Goes to all the schools,
Goes
yep.
to all the
Mhm.
kids, one goes home with all the kids, excellent. I just wanted to ask this, I don't know if it's me, but have we ever gotten a report of support services?
Yes, that's it. Joanne, the person that does the linking of the books, has been, she had to have an emergency surgery a couple weeks ago. So she's the one that gives me that report. That just is a report of how many books have been discarded and how many. I'll try to get it retrospectively. She's been out.
Can Nancy has to leave, and we need to do I'd like to do the vote with her present.
Sure.
Is there any way to jump ahead and do that, and then come back to whatever?
Yeah, I'm finished. I mean,
Well,
I'm
here's
okay.
the only the way it actually works is whoever the secretary who comes up with the slate of officers just makes the announcement. The only reason we would have a vote is if anybody disagreed.
Well,
so if you
Well,
wanted
then
to
we
do
open
it.
the floor to nominations. If there are no nominations, then.
Right,
Right.
exactly, so,
All right, well, for president, Keith Roddy, for vice president, Ellen Marion Bryan, for order of the bills, Bernie Marone, and for secretary, we're leaving that blank. And we're gonna take nominations from the floor.
because you don't want the job anymore?
No, the
Yeah.
situation
Should've
is that.
Oh, because
Tell
you've
it.
done it.
Call
I'm
me
not-
midnight, Saturday night.
I'm not the secretary.
I am.
There's the
Oh, you
secretary.
are, I'm sorry.
He was put on this committee without
With
being
that-
present.
Well, because he wasn't here.
Which therefore made him ineligible.
I learned a little lesson.
That's
Which
right, you have to come to the
therefore made him
meeting.
Once the
ineligible for
evaluation.
any of these positions.
Okay, but do you wanna be secretary?
So-
Sure, I will take on.
So we need to open the
Can I-
floor for nominations
Okay.
for that position.
Yes, Keith.
I would love to be president, but I really can't, because I'm not around during the day. And I think the president should be somebody that can interact with whether it's the school board or people we deal with. And I nominate Bernie as president because of all that he's been doing, and I think he would be a great president. So, that's who I nominate. So I have to decline because I don't think it's the best thing for the library board. So,
Okay.
but I think Bernie would be a great president.
Well, who's
Well,
gonna
this
be
got more
auditor?
exciting.
Being honest and I'm being rational.
Wow,
That's
that's
so
bad,
bad.
huh? Hey
But
kid,
you wanna
wait,
order
you gotta
those bills,
stop.
don't you?
Well,
can-
right, well,
can
he's
you
the
do
auditor of the bill.
Can you do
too.
both?
It can't be order of the bills also.
He can't?
No,
No.
no.
So we would need a nomination for auditor of the bills. Keith, could you be auditor of the bills?
That could be a nighttime thing.
That, and you only
If
have
it's
to
a
be here,
nighttime
what, once,
thing-
twice once a
Well-
month? How often do you do that? Once a month? Twice a month?
At least twice a month.
Yeah.
And how long does it take?
90 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
90 minutes.
Well, if you wanna go over it.
If you wanna be.
I mean, you could do it.
Well, it's
You
not,
probably
it's
don't
not
have- you don't have
necessary
to-
to get with Jack to go through these?
He,
What's that?
you could.
Doesn't need to be here.
Well, why don't
The president? Or?
The president doesn't need to be here in the day.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, yeah.
wondering.
Yeah, you don't, cause you know what, you have a vice president who can run interference for you, which is how it's supposed to work, it's good.
What?
You can still be president, you don't have to be here during the day, your vice president can run interference for you.
You call it interference?
You know, to run interference and
You could
do the work
delegate,
for
you delegate to the
thank
vice
you.
president
Right.
and to the
Delegate,
committee
yeah,
members.
daytime
Yeah.
tasks? He would be a
It's
good president.
up to you. What's that?
Yeah, telling him he could be a good president. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
how do you
think
feel about that, Bernie?
that you could be president.
No, that you, no, I'm continually impressed with your
But, you know,
involvement.
There's another way to do this, which is to have Ryan be president.
Oh,
and you
well,
continue to be
no.
vice
Well, here's
president.
anher one.
Why
You're
was that?
available
Don't-
during the day. How about Jim
Yeah,
Tarvin
Jim.
for
No, I'm not really
president?
available.
Yes, you are, Jim Tarvin. Come on, Jim Tarvin.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I nominated
and
Bernie. What do
actually-
you say on that?
And actually, my schedule's about
Bernie,
to cinch up
Bernie.
as well. It's
The what?
is about to
Cinch up.
cinch up to yeah. I won't be as available during the
Oh.
day over the summertime. So that's the same problem actually. And so the question is, how much of it is how much?
It's phone calls mostly.
It's mostly phone calls.
Yeah, you can do it all the
Texting,
phone.
text.
I always say phone texting.
Yeah.
Phone calls. You can do it all on the phone.
I think you would be better at it.
We
You're
nominate
a
Tony.
little more connected in the town than I am, and that's
There's
that's a
Yeah.
huge benefit.
Yeah. I would love to, if there isn't the interaction during the day, which I cannot be available for.
Yeah, there
But if you
really
have a
isn't.
vice president.
That's right, you
who-
can delegate.
You can
Okay.
delegate.
If your vice
and,
president is.
works from home,
If,
come in here during the day.
if you
yeah.
delegate
I
and he's
don't
not available, I'll do something during the day in his place or in your place if you get stuck.
Okay.
Yeah, the stuff that I've done has
Okay.
been yeah.
Okay, so now where
Alright,
are
so we're
we?
back to Keith as president, Ellen Mary as vice president,
Bernie is the auditor of the
and
town,
then,
and then
we're nominating.
we're gonna
Ryan.
do Ryan,
Well, I'm gonna,
secretary.
yes, I'm going to resign from the nominating committee. We
So-
do this
so that you
legitimately.
can-
When we read these records
You're-
of 100 years, we
you're-
know
you're-
that we made all the right
Resignation
steps.
Has
So
been
we
accepted
said
and duly
cross the
noted.
Ts and dotted the Is.
Hmm.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, to raise another aspect of it, for me to do the things that I've done recently, for me to do them as
Okay.
president, or to be able
Thank
to
you.
talk
Thank
to
you.
everybody as president, would it be a formal representation of, and that's not how I've been delivering or meeting people, in other words, for, as far as Ted and as far as Kate goes. And it's really
Well-
just the recent things that I've been doing.
Yeah, you know, I looked at the book on descriptions of positions, and the president really drives the meeting, gets us through the meeting.
Mhm.
You know, it's perfunctory in some cases, but there's also some representation when we have, as you have in this past year, discussion with people on the school board or outside. If that can be done through the vice pres, well, it could be done
It could
as
be
a
done by
trustee
anybody, yeah.
also. We're all representatives of the board, so
Yeah.
if that would work, then
Yeah,
I'm
and
fine.
And Ellen Mary's vice president, so she's.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I'm still
okay.
around,
I
so
just,
I can help
you know,
you out.
it's just some thought came to mind, and
Yeah, no.
again, very impressed with all your involvement and all that you've done.
Thank you.
So, yeah, okay, fine.
All right.
Congratulations.
Oh, all right, I'll be
Yeah.
president. Okay,
cast.
Did you get
so
a
Jim
hat?
cast the one vote
Oh,
for that
secretary,
slate of
yeah,
officers.
yes, I cast.
No,
I'm sorry, the
secretary.
secretary.
Oh, secretary.
The secretary
Yes.
cast the vote. for the
Secretary
slate of
cast the
officers.
vote for that
Approve that slate.
So let it be written.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
So let it be done.
Oh, yeah, the next meeting.
Congratulations.
All right.
We'll
So
be
you bother
talking.
him about
We'll be
that.
talking.
You bother him about the agenda. All right, thank you. So we skip, that was to elections, so that's done. And the director's report is done.
So I
Could we
have one
just-
question
I-
about the
I-
director's
I'm sorry.
report.
I do too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It
Oh,
is
you-
the cupola, any news on the cupola?
Cupola. He was supposed to come on Sunday. What was it, I haven't heard from him. Let me call him tomorrow and ask him.
Okay.
And that was your question as well?
No.
Okay. Norma has a question for you too.
It's about the adult services report that we
Okay.
have. In the, again, you know, I marked up my paper with data keeping, you know, waiting lists and, you know, the delivery, the home delivery, the semi-annual statistical survey.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanna make sure that we're
Yes.
keeping
good.
track
Yep.
of all of this, because this is going to be part of our presentation
Sure, of
to the
course.
community for why we need a new library, why we need more space.
Sure.
The other thing, the acting improv and the gardening series, are those new or?
Fairly new. So I'd say probably acting three.
Acting,
Three months.
improv is new.
Okay.
Gardening series is brand new. I haven't even, this is the
That's
first
the
I've heard
first
of it.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
The yarn gang has been around. for a
That's been
while.
around for a
Yeah.
while.
What are the, it says both had full with waiting list, but what does full mean? How many people is that?
What are we looking at?
Natural dying?
Natural.
First
natural
page.
dying.
I didn't know what the number was.
Well, I think they cut it off at 15, but I'll double check.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
It's 15 for the room.
Okay.
and it's in this room that they
Yes.
do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's,
the
we're
only
limited
room
to the
we've
space
got.
of this room.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
It's the only room we've got.
But again, to keep running record of all these,
Of course.
you know, everything
Yeah,
that
we've been
we've
trying
had
to take
to.
more pictures
Even
also.
even Cornerstone Nights Alliance, when it's something that we sponsor and there's a waiting list, there's that kind of thing, we need to keep
The actual numbers.
abreast of, because that's our argument.
If we could have them included in the report too, don't these go up on the web?
Yes.
Do all of
Do
these
they go?
reports
Not
go
sure.
up on the
Yes.
internet?
Yes, they
So if
do.
we had all of the numbers, if you could please ask Eleanor and, cause like this is good, youth services is pretty good, 36 members, how many people, one session.
Mhm.
if you could ask Eleanor to do that, we have a waiting, 15 people and we had to close it out, there was a waiting list, we'll do it a second time, something like that. Because you're right, that is exactly what's going to have to happen. People are going to look and see, well, if it was full, what does that mean?
Right.
If it doesn't say 15 or 6 or whatever, or,
Okay.
yeah.
Especially the children's programs, because
Yeah.
that's, I think, a big driver of,
Right.
you know, how many kids are gonna be turned away this summer because we don't have room.
Well, she's
Yeah.
very conscious of that and has a lot of revolving door things, which she can't have, sit-down things when there's 60 kids who want it and only room for 15, so,
Right.
you know.
Where is the, was there a sign here, or imagining a sign?
There's a
It
sign
was
out there.
up
I
over
don't
the
know
door.
where it went.
It was
Maybe
above
when
the
they
door.
painted it, it's like
I
that.
think when they redid the room, it came down, or it might be on the back of the door. It was inside. It was in here, Carol, somewhere. It was either, it was above the
Up
door
back,
or
yeah.
on the door, but when they redid this room, they just
It
put
was
that.
14, I think.
I think it was 14, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Matt? Alright, okay, the bylaw change for the auditor of the bills. Now, this is what we agreed on last time, we're just making it official, correct, Carol?
Yes, there was a 30-day
Right.
wait.
Right, okay.
For an actual vote.
So I will read this, then I will need a motion, a second, and a vote, okay? Alright, resolve that a change be made, it says make.
Yeah, I changed that in mine.
Yes, Matt has the corrected one.
Alright.
Two corrections on there.
I found 2 corrections.
You got two?
On made and,
Alright.
and this is one turned down here, but no.
Alright. Resolve that a change be made to Goshen Public Library and Historical Society Operating Policy, Article 4, Section 2, Election and Term of Officers. Officers shall be elected for a 1-year term by members of the board at the annual organizational meeting. No trustee shall serve more than 2 consecutive years in the same office. Appointed officers serve at the will of the board. To read Section 2, election and term of officers. Officers shall be elected for 1-year term by the members of the board at the end, this is what.
To read section 2, that's what's written, right?
That's what that's how we're changing it
That's,
to.
yes.
Okay. Alright, this is what, I'm sorry. Okay, to read Section 2, election of the term of officers. Officers shall be elected for a 1-year term by members of the board at the annual organizational meeting. No trustees shall serve more than 2 consecutive years in the same office, with the exception of auditor of the bills, who may serve an additional 1 term if voted upon at the organizational meeting. Appointed officers serve at the will of the board. So we're changing the first part to the second part. Sorry, it was confusing.
That's what that to read means. It was
Right, I
from
didn't.
that to read.
I misunderstood. So, does everyone understand
And we
what I
wanted
said? I didn't
additional
have a-
2 years,
Which is the term.
which
Okay.
is a term.
Okay. May I have a motion to, accept this?
So the term.
I'm confused on that
Yeah.
because it talks about 1-year terms.
It's a 1-year term.
And then you
yeah.
say a term, but you're saying the term is 2 years, so I don't think that language is clear.
Each year is a term,
Right.
but you can only serve 2
Two.
terms,
Right.
and as the rules are
As it's
written
written.
now. So we want it to change that you can have an additional 2 terms.
So 4 years.
Which
you
would,
can-
or
Okay.
4
Additional
years
2
maximum.
terms.
Wait, additional
But
2
still
terms, we
must-
put down 1 term here.
It says 1 term there,
You remember
additional
we
1
changed from
term.
2 years?
For auditor of the bills or all officers?
Just
Just
auditor.
auditor.
Just
Bills.
auditor
Right.
bills, yes.
You got
Only
two
auditor of
To
the
2
bills.
terms.
Yeah.
He can have an additional 2 terms, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Alright.
You may
Okay.
change
I'm going
it
to
to
read
2
it again.
years
Almost left as
if you feel more
president, but
comfortable.
now you're leaving us.
With that,
Two
it's
terms
just a
anyway.
suggestion.
You're gonna be
terms is
auditor of the
fine.
bills for 8 years.
Alright, I'm going,
At the end of this
alright,
one.
okay. Quiet. Okay, I'm gonna read it again.
Lifetime.
We could be appointed.
Have
We
to.
can change this in 2 years.
Somebody has
We
to.
can change it. We can make Ryan, if you
Bernie's
skip the
not
next
here,
meeting,
he's
make Ryan.
auditor of the bills
come
for
to the
10
meeting,
years.
That's
He
next
doesn't
time
have to run
Ryan's
for
absent,
election
he
either.
becomes auditor of the bill. Alright, let me go and read this again.
The Moroni exception.
The Moroni
Right.
exception, I love it.
Very nice. Very
Okay,
nice.
okay, we're gonna change it, okay, Section 2, election and term of officers. Officers shall be elected for a 1-year term by members of the board at the annual organizational meeting. No trustee shall serve more than 2 consecutive years in the same office with the exception of auditor of the bills, who may serve an additional 2 terms if voted upon at the organizational meeting. Appointed officials serve at the will of the board. Okay? So may I have a motion to accept the changes? Norma, thank you. A second? Jim, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And we have 1 absence. And motion passes. Thank you.
No. Wonder if I should abstain, but it doesn't matter.
Vote for yourself.
Hmm?
Okay, thank you. Did I do that? I didn't think I did.
Or we should?
Alright,
Yeah.
next.
Proposed
Proposed agenda items for the next meeting? Oh, Cornerstone, I actually, you know, what, I have all these arrows, you ruined everything, and I completely missed it.
I knew it was gonna
And then I can talk again.
That's alright. You're adorable, but we wanna go home.
Thanks.
There is no other unfinished business? Alright. New business, Cornerstone Arts Alliance contract renewal. This is something to discuss in,
Well, if there's contention,
you have
Well, what is
problems?
the language in the agreement say that?
basically,
Sponsor 2 plays.
we space, 3, we have,
Three.
we have.
Shakespeare in the Park.
Right, and then 2, further educational or biographical,
Right.
theater.
Ring
Which, you know, last year, I mean, what ends up happening really is we have a summer money, and then Ken and I kind of, I mean, we know that Shakespeare is gonna be the big expense, cause
Right.
it's got the biggest cast, and it takes the longest to get. And then he kinda works it out with me, depending on what he chooses. Like this year, I think we had 4 plays instead of the 2, because they weren't big enough for Ken, you know, we've known each other a while, he's fair, and he felt like he wanted, you know, there was a 1 person, 1 act play is not, you know, we weren't gonna pay them the amount we had set aside. So he said, how about I do your children's play this year, and we'll do this, and so, even though the official wording is really 1, you know, Shakespeare in the Park and 2 educational plays, there's room to
That's the
work
minimum.
with him, right, that's kind of the minimum thing.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that is involved?
It's 10,000,
And it's
As it
been,
was.
that's been what
That's
it's
been-
been
right.
for a couple
Okay.
years.
which was a great deal, remember, because, I mean, when we
It
were,
was, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
I mean,
It is,
especially
it
in,
is.
right.
Gave him the freedom too.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
So we're a sponsor and we go on Shakespeare fans and T-shirts and.
The only thing my concern is that the venue is handicap accessible, so for all 3 plays, would have to be in a venue that's handicap accessible. And I think if they are unable to do that, then the amount has to be reduced. In other words, if it's 6,000 for the Shakespeare and 2,000 for each of the others, then if they can only do 1 of those in a handicapped accessible place, then they would get a total of 8. If they can
Mhm.
do 2, they get, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Well, I think that's kind of,
What's the word?
hard for us to, yeah, I'm trying to think of what the word is. We're not handicap
Hypocritical?
accessible, so if we're
Hypocritical?
going to be
Well, but we
withholding
want
funds
to be,
because.
yeah, no,
Yeah, right,
it-
but they want to be also,
Well,
and we
we're
just
hearing
aren't.
that, yeah.
And they're working on becoming handicapped accessible, so I think, you know,
If we withhold funds, then
withholding
that-
funds because they're not doing something we're not doing
They
doesn't
might have
seem
more
right.
potential to get to where we wanna be.
Yeah, yeah.
Quicker, and with getting that ramp.
But there are other sites, there are other facilities in
Yeah, I
town,
mean, if they
in the
can,
schools
and,
and in the churches.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I think it's not something that's difficult for them to do.
Have we raised it as an issue with Ken?
I have spoken to Ken
Okay.
about it.
Yeah, and you aren't the only one, which is why
Yeah.
they're looking into getting a chair and
Right.
getting grants to pay for it. It's not something that they don't have the funding, and we don't have the funding to help them to have it done before the summer season hits, so.
See, we don't have a choice about becoming handicapped, so they do. We can't say, oh, we'll move our library over here so you can get folks.
Oh,
But
I
they
follow
can-
you what
They
you're
can
saying.
move their play.
They can move their
It's
play,
not
I
that big a
follow
deal
what
to,
you're saying.
I mean, it makes it more work. They
Mhm.
could do the rehearsals here, and then, you know, when it
Mm.
comes to actually the performance, then they have to.
They have a
go
big
to the
seating
other-
audit, they don't have to turn people away. They do it,
Which is
if
another
they do it in
aspect
a
of
larger
it.
auditorium,
That's
they don't
right.
have to turn people
Well,
away.
it started out in I remember the first place was at the Main Street building here.
Right, it
And that was a beautiful, they
Yeah, that
staged
worked out
Cobb
pretty
there, I think.
Mhm.
Well, even
Yeah.
before
Yeah,
that,
Cobb was there, yeah.
they did plays over in, was it Goshen Intermediate? The,
It might be, I don't remember.
There were
I
some
didn't go to
plays that we
those.
went
I
to.
think so. The first one I went to was there.
Yeah, I just, I think that, we can raise the issue with them, how important it is to us, but I don't think we really have the legs to stand on to, make it a condition of our financing. You know,
But
I mean.
I can't vote for, you know,
All right,
whatever
that's
the board
fine.
wants to do,
That's
I'm gonna
fine.
vote no.
That's
If-
fine.
If we're gonna give the money to hold plays in a place that's not accessible when there are alternatives for them.
That's fine,
So-
and we can, make the case that they should,
Right.
but
Okay.
I would prefer not to withhold funds if they can't. I just don't like, it doesn't sit well.
Well, Jen, you mentioned that you're looking into the possibility of staging the plays in one of the schools.
Right,
We would
and
like
so-
to, but they charge us for that.
Right, it's not a.
So it's an extra expense, so a cast that might have been 10 now has to be reduced to 5, and then we have to cut. It won't be, so for example, if we were gonna stage a full-fledged Shakespeare, we wanted to do a full Romeo and Juliet, we'll say, we might have to cut that cast, and then cut that script, and that's extra man hours to.
But
so we can-
Shakespeare's in the park.
Yeah,
This is
that's
the
right. I'm
historical
using it
plays.
as an
This is the
example.
historical plays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just using it as an example.
Mhm.
They charge, that we don't get any of that for free. Anything we wanna do there, we have to pay for.
What's the fee? Is it can't be?
It's the custodian. That's the fee.
A couple $100. Because they have to set up all the chairs, we can't,
Hmm.
because
Clean
it's
up
a school
some-
building,
Well,
we
they have
can't
to
touch.
transfer the equipment too.
And we have to
Mhm.
transfer, now that we have the light,
So,
lights that are being mounted into the ceiling, which won't be movable, in a few months. We would need to figure out a way to light it without using just the regular overhead, because that's really not very nice.
I see it as a good PR if we were to increase it with the stipulation that they have it in a handicap accessible place and we pick up the charge. We're promoting that we're wanting everybody to be able to see the plays and we're putting, do you see what I'm saying? Would you,
So-
what would you
You're
think about
saying-
that?
you're saying
I'm saying that it's a drop in the bucket. If we're already going $6,000 strong, another 400, whatever, to have it in a handicap accessible place, we'll open it up to more people and that would shine brightly on the library. It would be a
So
positive.
instead of being 10,000, it might be, what, 11,000, 12,000?
One play, yeah, as long as if you
Right
feel
now-
comfortable with one play being handicap accessible. At
Right.
one is handicap accessible in the park, and one would be handicap, another one. What do you think of that? It's
Is it something we need
reaching
to
out.
discuss now? I'm hearing they've integrated some of the lights in the ceiling, or?
That's the plan, Jerry's, within the next
Oh,
few months,
okay.
I believe, is
But
mounting them into
they
the
haven't
ceiling.
yet. Okay.
So, right now, our contract with them is $10,000 for 3 plays, 1 Shakespeare in the Park and 2 historical educational plays. What you're proposing is that we put a stipulation in there that if they can put those, and we'll pick up the cost of renting
At least one.
1 place. So if they have to use Main Street building, we'll pick up the cost of renting the Main Street building for 1 of the educational plays.
For the purpose of
For the purpose of making it handicapped accessible.
Mm-hmm.
That's that.
It's a good PR move.
Yeah.
Is that okay with everybody, that,
Unless there's technical difficulties that we're not privy
Right.
to.
right, so it's
Yeah.
$10,000 for the contract, and then like a rider kind of thing, it should be,
Absolutely, if they can determine where they wanna have it.
money. Input, anyone?
Well, the one thing I think of is all the shows that they do have.
Yeah,
It's over at least 2 weekends,
right.
Usually 3,
3 weekends.
and we look at,
So you're not just
Nine-
talking about
9
one
performances.
show and one
Right,
cost.
right, rent the per
So-
session.
Right, we're talking about each session, whatever it
right,
costs.
9 performances, a Friday night, so let's say we want to have it in the school building. If
So-
they have their concert,
Right.
we can't, they have the building for.
Yeah,
Right,
that is
right.
a consideration.
Yeah, but that's.
One
seems like-
performance,
Or one,
handicap
or
accessible.
one weekend.
One weekend.
I'm not privy to next season's,
Yeah.
have
Or
Yeah.
that's
So
actually
I
a good
can help
point,
you.
if maybe
Um,
one performance
One
could be
performance.
done.
That's
Maybe
an
at the high
interesting
school, 'cause the
idea.
high school has lights
If we could do
and
that,
sound
that's
system
an
and all
idea,
that.
if we had 1 performance of each
Per
being
each.
handicapped accessible, would that be,
Or do you wanna set a dollar amount? Because one performance at one location might be much more than the
well,
main
the thing
streets.
is, we don't wanna, handicap them, because we wanted them to be able to have, we want people who can't get into their building now to be able to see performances we're sponsoring.
Okay, so we
And,
just-
yeah, like she said, if some things are gonna run several weekends, then it gets expensive.
Yeah, those are.
Right, so if they can do it and then for one Saturday or something,
How about
have it at the Main Street building or what?
a senior citizen center.
Or something like that, or,
That's a possibility.
yeah.
Actually, and it's a perfect audience
Mhm.
too.
Where's your no
Right,
votes?
but I think that,
Where's your no votes come from?
yeah, there you go. Well, no, it's a good point, and it's,
Yeah, that might
Yeah.
be workable.
If you
and
want.
and it's better than holding some of the money hostage, it's an incentive to accommodate more
If you want
people.
more information about the season, Donna Silver McCormick is the person to talk to. She will be on vacation for the next week, however, so after the end of this week.
Okay,
If you wanted
so
to get in
if,
touch with her, she would be able to give you
So-
much more information than I could.
We could have her come to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Next meeting will
Rehearsals start with Shakespeare.
Tomorrow.
right, so we,
Tomorrow, 7:30 in my basement.
So,
let's see, so how do we
The
wanna
the
do
only
it?
thing that, in my mind, I think would be a step in the right direction to have a few of the performances at a site that's handicapped accessible. If it's just one, and the first, people's schedules are tight, if there's only one, sometimes
But
it's
you know
very
what,
hard to.
sometimes there's only one of something, there's only so much
Yeah.
accommodating everybody that
Right.
can be
Well-
done, and I don't know how expensive this is gonna be. I think we should put something that's not entirely strict and binding and
Mandate.
somewhat flexible about
Mhm.
this.
But I
Because
don't-
we don't know what they're going to do, they don't know what they're going to do, they don't know what buildings are gonna be available for which things, and the senior center could be good for certain kind of plays and not other kind of plays, and I think that, I don't know how to put it, per show basis, we discuss financing one or two performances in a handicapped accessible place or something like that.
So
Put it like that way.
I think if we agree on the 10,000
The 10,000 and then
have Matt follow up with Donna,
Donna,
Yes.
yeah.
and the two of them can talk about, just in the hypothetical senses, the different venues, and either she can find out, or she should find out, what it costs to have it at the high school versus the senior center versus the Main Street building.
Absolutely.
Matt can come back at the next meeting with,
And then we could have like an
With-
addendum to the contract
and
kind of
then,
thing?
yeah.
And this goes back to the school calendar that in end of August,
Mhm.
and September when people are back in school,
Right.
the whole calendar for the entire year.
Right.
And so you'll see when the spring concert is at the elementary,
Sure.
intermediate,
Mhm.
high
Middle school,
school, spring concerts, those
Mhm.
kinds of things. The high school play, because we don't wanna interfere with that either, we don't wanna schedule
Yeah.
our performances
Well,
on
we
a
can't, starting
school
from
play.
the day they get back from Christmas break until the end of April, it's eaten up for the musical at the high school, so that's completely out of the question.
Yeah.
I think the senior citizen center would be the
I think,
ideal.
you know what,
I don't
I
think
tell
we
you
can
what,
do
now
this
that
with
you
the-
bring this
Too
up,
large
what,
of a, too large of a stage.
my kids all did the musical, and what they would do was, a week or so before the actual musical, the kids did, the songs from the musical for the seniors.
with a
And
dinner.
I can't remember how they do it.
They do
Yeah,
it with
right,
a
they have
dinner.
dinner, and they perform
It's
for
like a
them.
dress rehearsal kind of
Yes,
thing.
Right.
and it's about a week before the actual play, and they do that for the seniors, because they can't get to, and it's very nice, and it's well received, and they've done it as long as I can remember. But, I mean, perhaps there's some kind of compromise that, Cornerstone can make, instead of the full out thing, they can't manage that at the senior center, they do some other version of it at the senior center, or,
Yeah.
because a big chunk of the community is left out. So we want to make this as inclusive as possible and as economically as we can, because, right now nobody can afford the chairlift, and so that's where we can all meet each other and work together on this. So I say we go agree to the 10,000 and leave this for the next meeting, but
Okay.
we have to come up with some kind of a plan. You're gonna deal with it, but we have to come up with some kind of a plan for,
To back Shakespeare.
well,
Well,
Shakespeare
that's okay.
is gonna be part of
Shakespeare,
this,
yeah.
and that's not an issue, cause it's in the
Yeah.
park, so it's handicapped accessible, but what goes on after that, the 2 or 3 or 4, however many educational things. Are we gonna pay for one day, are we gonna pay, but I think we have to do it per incident, or however you wanna call it. I don't know what the wording has to be. But, okay, suppose they're gonna do Cobb, okay, well, you can stage it really well in Cornerstone, but do one Saturday, 2 performances at the school building, what's that gonna cost? We'll pick up the cost. And then that's handicapped accessible, and we promote that as handicapped accessible, and the people who can't make it through the Cornerstone building can go to the school building, and
I think they'll be okay because they have a small space that they're working with now.
Right.
And they're thinking how to use this small space effectively now.
Sure.
So
yeah. No, I think
it's very intimate. It's
Right.
always been an intimate setting.
But I prefer a relationship with them that's more flexible than do it our way or we're not paying you. And I mean, I appreciate where you're coming from, and I think you're right. We do have to open this up to more people. If we're going to sponsor it, we should sponsor it for the whole community. So, yeah, if you guys want to come up with wording next month for how we go about saying what we want to say about the
One performance to be
Yeah, one
performed at
performance.
an alternate location that is handicap accessible.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, one performance, we don't, if one performance and one day are the same cost, can we do 2 performances?
For 2 in a day.
If we're already paying for the play,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, and it costs $150, $200 to have that room for the day or for one performance, you might as well get 2 handicapped accessible performances out of it, is my point.
A matinee and a.
Right,
Yeah,
a matinee and an evening
Mhm.
show.
You're just paying for the extra hour or 2 for the
Right,
custodial.
whatever it is, right,
Yeah.
they'll set up, they'll clean up, and they'll do one early, one later, whatever.
Nice.
I mean, it
Sounds
might be
good to
worth.
me.
Thank you, Alma.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do we have a motion on the existing contract?
No, we didn't. So can I have a motion to accept the contract as it is right now, the $10,000 for 1 Shakespeare in the Park and at least 2 educational/historic plays for the weekend? Thank you, Bernie. Second. Keith, all in favor?
I'm gonna abstain.
You're gonna
until-
abstain?
Until we
Okay.
get clarification.
That's
as to-
fine, that's fine. Jim abstains and Nancy is absent, so it passes. Thank you very much.
And then as far as the pursuing the handicap, you're gonna pursue that with him? Is
Yeah.
that-
Mhm.
I've already had a couple talks with Ken, and he's aware of it. He definitely wants to.
Sure.
to
Right,
something
because
about
it's
it.
in his interest too. More people who can come and see him, so.
They charge for these places, except for the hat out? or
Donation.
the-
No,
the hat
No,
out.
it's all it's
Donation.
donations and grants and.
Not the ones we back.
The ones you back are free. Everything
Yeah.
else
Mhm.
is.
There's a donation.
It's
Right.
It's
Yeah,
voluntary,
Right.
so you can come and see it without putting in a donation. But if you do, you get a nifty fan.
Nifty fan.
A
It is-
Shakespeare fan.
Shakespeare's fan.
It is a treasure to be displayed at a future library.
It is, there you go. The Historical Society will be scrambling over those fans, aren't they?
Put it right next to the fence.
There you go.
Maybe make it out of the fence.
So are
Have
there
some
any,
extra.
Oh, there you go.
On that, the t-shirts,
If we find out it's lead,
Well,
it's a lead-based
not really, unless you wanna hear the number that was proposed by the plumbers, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's
Not sure that even.
I can just tell you later, it's not a
Alright,
deal,
well,
it's
we
not
can-
safe on camera.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Okay, so, are there any proposed agenda items for next month's meeting? Aside from, we're going to deal with the contract, extension, addendum, whatever you wanna call it, regarding handicapped accessibility for Cornerstone, Productions. What's
How
that?
do you wanna talk about the spreadsheet?
Well,
Does
I think
anybody
we're
have any
gonna.
questions about the spreadsheet, or?
No, we're all scared now.
We're all
thanks.
scared, sure.
Well, I knew it
Sorry.
wasn't gonna last.
Well, what
I
did
knew
I-
we were gonna eat right through that money, but I thought it was gonna last a little longer than that.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna set that for the next meeting to discuss, or if you wanna do it as a.
Yeah, I think, I don't
It's
know
late,
if
I
that's
know.
an executive session thing or, yeah, and it's, the weather's not nasty, I don't really wanna make anybody stay longer than that. Okay, any other
Spreadsheet.
proposed?
Is that the?
The
is that what it's called?
spreadsheet
Yeah,
that,
I'll send you a copy.
Do you have
Okay.
an
Talking
overhead
about.
projector that, say, we could use to display on the screen
I-
here?
I have a projector,
I just
yeah.
wonder, if
Yeah.
it would help.
Alright, so we'll talk about that at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
That's good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Projector.
Okay. So we'll.
It's an NEC, I think.
You don't have to worry
It's
about it
an-
anymore.
I know, it's all on
It's an
tape.
anchor.
Look at that.
Boat
Thank
anchor.
you. I get to just be one of the guys.
It's
Um,
I'm sorry.
Really?
Post on.
bad
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, really, citizens. Okay, privilege of the floor? Okay. I wanna go into executive session just for a few minutes. You don't have to leave, because, it's just
So let's say
sewer
we just
thingy.
So it's just
cut
a
it.
So,
And you don't have to leave, just cut the stuff out.
Just
We
cut
can-
the-
Right.
Wait, we have to take a motion to go
Yes.
out of executive?
yes, can we go, have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion
Ryan and Jim, all in favor?
Oh, yeah. I thought you made the motion.
I
thought you
thought
made the
Ryan
motion
said
to
Norman
make the
and Jim.
motion.
Ryan and Jim, yeah.
We're in motion.
No, Ryan and Jim.
You see how you get.
I wanna see those minutes.
It was
Ryan
Ryan,
Norman.
Ryan and Norma.
Ryan and Norma.
Are we?
Got more
You sorry,
triple
Maddie?
outs on that?
Yeah.
But-
You
So
sure?
Ryan
We're
comes
good,
before
okay.
Norma.
Kill the camera.